Okay, so, imagine this for a second. You really need to get up to speed on something new. It could be anything, right? Something super complex, or maybe even something that's kind of controversial.
Uh-huh.
So you do what anyone would do these days. You turn to an AI for help. You're hoping for, a nice, clear summary of everything. But here's the thing. How do you know that what you're reading is actually true? How do you know that AI isn't I don't know, making stuff up as it goes?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question these days, isn't it? And it's precisely what we're diving into today. We're really going to dig deep into this idea of faithfulness in AI. It's kind of like a trustworthiness score, but specifically for AI-generated text.
And just to be clear, we're not talking about opinions here. It's not about whether the AI agrees or disagrees with something or has its own interpretation.
Right.
It's about its ability to just, stick to the hard facts that are presented to it.
You got it. We're not talking about AI having its own opinions. What we're interested in today is how well it can process information and then, present it back to us without adding its own, well, spin on things. Or, even worse, making stuff up altogether.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we've got this fascinating research paper, and they actually give AI a faithfulness score, which is amazing.
Yeah.
A high score means you're probably pretty safe trusting what you're getting from the AI. But a low score? Whoa, that's a whole different story.
Wow.
That's a big red flag, that
Yeah.
things might be a little, shall we say, fishy.
Right, right. And what I find really interesting is how they actually calculate this faithfulness score. Because it's not as simple as just, did the AI get the answer right or wrong? It's much more nuanced than that. It's about whether the AI can actually back up its claims with specific evidence found in the, source material, whatever it's been given.
So it's kind of like fact-checking on steroids or something. The AI might be able to spit out an answer that seems accurate, but can it point you to the exact place in the text where it found that information?
That's a great way to put it. It's all about traceability. Now, our source material actually uses this helpful diagram to illustrate the whole process.
Oh, a diagram. I have to admit, diagrams usually kind of make my eyes glaze over.
Right.
But this one actually makes a lot of sense.
It breaks it all down really well, showing the connection between the question, the source material, the AI's answer, and then how all of that gets checked for accuracy.
Okay, yeah, this is pretty cool, actually. I'm looking at it now, and it really highlights that faithfulness isn't just some, vague idea or whatever. It's actually something that you can measure. It's quantifiable.
Yeah.
And if you can actually measure how faithful an AI is being, that means that you can start holding these systems accountable for the information they put out there, which, that's kind of a big deal. Thinking about this whole idea of AI being held accountable, it makes me realize that this going off script thing, it can be really subtle sometimes.
Right.
It's not always as obvious as the AI just making up a completely false story.
Oh, absolutely. The really tricky part is catching those small slip-ups, those subtle inaccuracies.
Right? And that's why our source uses this example about Einstein's birthday.
Okay.
To show how even a small deviation from the facts can actually be a pretty big deal.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's talk about this whole Einstein's birthday problem. What's the setup here?
So let's say you ask an AI a very simple question, something like, where and when was Einstein born? Straightforward, right? Now, let's imagine the AI has access to, a short biography on Einstein. And the bio clearly states, Albert Einstein, born on March 14, 1879, was a German-born theoretical physicist.
Yeah.
The usual.
Yeah, okay, I get it. So it's a basic question, and the AI has the right information right there in front of it.
Yeah.
This is like a slam dunk for a high-faithfulness AI, right? Exactly. It should be able to handle this no problem. And in this case, it does. A high-faithfulness AI would accurately tell you that Einstein was born in Germany, March 14th, 1879. No issues there. It found the info, pulled it straight from the source, presented it back to you, good as new. But things get a bit more interesting when we see how a low-faithfulness AI might handle that exact same question.
Ooh, okay. So what happens with the low-faithfulness AI? What does it do?
Well, like the high-faithfulness AI, it still correctly identifies Germany as Einstein's birthplace. But here's the thing, it messes up the date. It says that Einstein was born on, let's say, March 20th instead of March 14th.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So it seems like a pretty small error at first glance. Maybe it just got its dates mixed up. We all make mistakes, right?
Right, and that's precisely the point, because if a human made that mistake, we might just chalk it up to, a faulty memory or maybe just a simple oversight. But we're talking about AI here, and this seemingly small mistake, it's actually a huge red flag, because it tells us that the AI isn't just finding information and relaying it, it's adding its own I don't know, interpretation to it, its own spin on things.
So even though it got the birthplace right, the fact that it messed up the birth date suggests that it might be pulling information from somewhere else. Or worse, like actually making things up.
That's the worry. And this right here, this is exactly why faithfulness is so important, especially now as AI is starting to take on these bigger and bigger roles in, well, everything really, our whole information ecosystem. Whether it's, summarizing complicated research, generating news articles, or even just answering our questions. We need to be confident that these systems are prioritizing accuracy above all else, that they're sticking to the facts.
It's kind of scary when you think about it. Like, what other ways might this low faithfulness AI be impacting us without us even realizing it? I mean, this Einstein example, it seems pretty harmless, all things considered. But what if it were something with, higher stakes? It really makes you think, right? About, like, the potential for AI to kind of warp our understanding of the past or even, like, rewrite history completely. It's kind of creepy when you think about it. It's like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
And it's not just history, right? Think about the implications for something like journalism. I mean, what happens when you've got AI tools designed to spit out news articles, but they're pulling information from, like, shady sources, or even just making up details to make a story more exciting? The impact on, public trust, the spread of misinformation, it can be disastrous.
Yeah, it's like we need to, I don't know, develop a whole new set of media literacy skills for the age of AI or something.
We do. We really do. We have to be so much more vigilant now, especially when we're talking about information online. Just because an article sounds all official and convincing or uses, really formal language or even quotes experts, it doesn't mean that it's accurate. We can't just take things at face value anymore.
So, okay, that begs the question, what can we actually do about this? Like, what can we do as, just people consuming information every day to make sure that we're not being completely misled by this low faithfulness AI?
Well, I think a really important first step is just being aware of the potential for bias. Because even though AI might seem like it's totally objective, it's not. AI systems can inherit biases from the data that they're trained on, just like people. So thinking critically about the source of the information, both, the AI's training data and then the specific sources that it cites in its output, that's crucial.
So it's not enough to just, like, evaluate the AI itself. We have to actually evaluate the information that it's giving us, too.
Yes. We have to double-check its work, basically. And that's where those good old-fashioned critical thinking skills that we always talk about, those really come in handy. Don't be afraid to question what you read, even if it comes from an AI. Cross-reference things, look for evidence from multiple sources, be wary of anything that just seems, too good to be true or too outlandish.
It's like we always have to have that little voice in the back of our head saying, wait a minute, is this for real?
Right. And honestly, I think that's just good advice in general for, navigating today's world, AI or no AI.
Absolutely. It's a wild world out there, that's for sure. But this has been fascinating. I mean, this concept of faithfulness in AI, it's not something we hear a lot about, but it's so important for building trust in these systems. Really eye-opening.
It really is. And it's something that we're going to have to keep talking about, especially as AI technology continues to evolve, because it's not going away anytime soon.
Very true. A lot to think about. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time as we continue to explore the amazing world of AI, one conversation at a time.